So let's move on to the moon decade. And the moon decade is, just as it may sound, it's very homey, personal time period. A lot of building maybe on the house itself. A lot of focus on real estate, enhancements to the home environment may be going on, particularly again in our opening years and in those closing years. So I say you do the thing with the home, but there's a little bit of what I call a darling effect. A darling effect, meaning, oh, she's so great, we love her. And even if it's a guy probably wants it better, brings women into their life. A lot of women dominate this decade. If you're a man or if you're a woman. If you're a woman in particular, you're going to get that real darling effect a little bit. Maybe being very well liked, maybe joining a lot of circles of women or wanting to lead women. If you're in the workplace, you're going, gee, I'm only hiring women lately. Or in feminine men. Right? Because you're into the yin side of people. And so that's what you're going to draw out. And so you're going to see these patterns of, yeah, I'm all around women these days. So women dominate. And there's a lot of focus oftentimes on parents, on grandparents. Again, the lineage. You may have a need to have family reunions, class reunions, travel to the family's birthplace maybe, if, wherever country your family comes from, a need to go back. It's a very touchy-feely decade. And because of it, we have a lot of emotions coming out under this decade. So you may have someone that seems to be all of a sudden very emotional, more emotional than you've ever seen them, never seen them cry. Get them in this decade, and you're going to find them being certainly more contemplative and showing their emotions. So we have another audience chart that we're looking at here. This is Susan's chart, and she's born in 67. She's currently 46, and again, looking at using our method, Venus, Pluto, Uranus, Mars, and Moon. She is now in the Moon decade here. And with the Moon decade, again, all those things I spoke about, focusing on family. I happened to talk to her after our last class last month, and we were talking about something else, I think, and actually out of it came the story. And she said, yes, I spent last summer, I went home to the homestead, we sold off everything, we moved mom, she's going to go live with another sibling now. We're very emotional. Closing down, I think there was a farm or, a rural area, and a lot of family heritage there, and then closing down, property being sold out of the family's domain anymore. So you can see it's a beautiful example of that influence. But on another level, maybe in the work environment, maybe she's playing mom. Maybe she's playing mom in a work environment. Maybe she's looking after people. Maybe she's got a real circle of women going around her at this point. This does bring up an interesting point in that she has her moon in Scorpio. There are certain aspects, certain placements, I should say, of planets, some more favorable than others. Moon in Scorpio is not considered a great placement. It's considered in its detriment, so to speak. So it's not the ideal placement to have your moon at. So just be aware that doesn't make this as happy of a decade as it could. Does it make sense? If someone, let's say moon in Taurus, and we're going to be looking at a moon in Taurus later. Moon in Taurus is exalted, so when that person's moon goes into their decade, you can guarantee there's going to be a lot of packing things going on. Moon in Scorpio suggests they're probably more sentimental, which kind of goes in play with the story she told of going back and closing down the family homestead. Now, she should start looking forward to her 50s, though, and this is the part of the astrology that I love, is that you can go, well, she's coming up to Neptune. Neptune, we just got done talking about that foreign travel, foreign beliefs. She's probably going to find herself associating more with minorities. Maybe she's going to have more planning a trip. If I was her, I would start developing my savings account for a big trip, whether it's a huge cruise, whether it's something a little more exotic, going to Europe or going to Africa, wherever. But the idea is she is going to have a decade of opening her eyes to the world and to new belief systems. So that's how you would use it on a very practical level. So finishing up the moon decade, it's family focus. This is a time period where women may say, I want to stay home and raise my children. This is the decade someone says, you know what, let's run a daycare out of a home, right? Family focus. They're very sentimental. Again, I can think of all sorts of applications for women. Men, you're just into women. You may be dominated. No, let's talk men here. We got to give them a fair time. Men may find themselves, my wife is running the show under this point. They're dominated by the woman at this point. Or they have a woman boss, or they work and all of a sudden there's all these women around them. So they may find themselves very focused, being dominated by women's energy at this point. When I see women going through it, they're scrapbooking. You know, they're doing memory quilts. They're doing all these things to document history, or they're being the historian in their nonprofit, trying to document all that has happened here. It's a big nurturing. That's a fabulous energy, obviously, to start a family, adopt, get involved in big brothers, big sisters. And again, going back to that just a second, do you understand that as I say these things, it's not that everyone is cheering you from the sidelines, thinking this is exactly what you should be doing. Your mother-in-law may be saying, why doesn't she go out and get a job? And you're saying, I feel this great need to be at home during this time period. Or, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to take care of my ailing mother-in-law. And somebody else is saying, are you crazy? You've got a great job with benefits. Why would you leave that? So I want to get very clear, this is not, there's consequences to all these decisions here. It's not that everyone is cheering you on and saying, that's a great idea. Right? So even when it's something loving and out of emotions, it's still going to be controversial.